noon. Is that what you say? I'd like to call to order this Mobile GR Commission on December the 4th at 12 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Lunger. Whistling.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Legrand. Miguel Cipriano. Wynn.
Here.
Mathis.
Here.
Sessa.
Here.
Rye.
Here.
Patton.
Here.
Pawaka.
Here.
Weiler.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. First order is approval of the agenda. Are there any items or to be changed in anyone's opinion? So do we normally have a motion to approve the agenda? All right, I'll entertain a motion. I've only been at this for how long?
Second.
All right,
Getting the hang of it.
I know. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, approval of the minutes. This, in our packets from November 12th. Any comments or corrections? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries as well. We'll move to action items. We have chair and vice chair nominations. Are there any nominations to be had moving forward for next year?
I'd be happy to. I don't know if I can fill your shoes, but I'd be happy to nominate myself for chair.
There are barely 9,
I know.
so.
I'd also like to make a nomination for Commissioner Rye, Janelle.
Do you accept?
Yes, I accept.
All right.
Oh, my nomination was for chair.
Oh, for chair.
Oh. Okay. Help me now what happens. This is my first time for this.
That's okay. So I would start with nominations for chair, and then you have a nomination for Chad Patton, and you have a nomination for Janelle Rye. So typically what you do is you'd make a motion for the nomination, and then you would vote on the motion. And then if that motion fails, you'd make a motion on another one, and then that one, if that one passed or failed, then you move on from there, I believe. That's how I would do it.
Okay.
And then you would move to vice chair, and you do the same thing all over again.
All right.
Does that make sense to everyone? Okay.
So the first motion was made by Chad Patton, correct? So we call a vote.
You need a second on your motion.
Oh, we need a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Do you want to do a vote count or go around the table?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll start, let's start with Chad.
Is this where I do a stump speech?
Yeah.
No, you just vote yay or nay.
Yay.
Got it.
Ken?
Nay.
Yay.
Yay.
I was briefing the mayor. I'm sorry. Are we voting on
Chad,
yay?
or chair?
Yay. Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Nay.
Yay.
Nay. Yay.
So your motion passes.
All right,
This is your new chair.
all right. Congratulations, Chad.
Thank you all.
We'll move to vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Janelle Ray.
I'll second.
All right.
We probably
There any other nominations? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Congratulations to you too.
Thanks.
All right. Next are discussion items, the Mobile GR Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program.
Thank you. Okay, so I've got John Bartlett here, who's our city transportation engineer, and also in the back is Ariana Jessica, the assistant mobile GR director, and we have an update for you on the neighborhood traffic calming program. So just to set the table a little bit for this, traffic calming in general is something that we work on in traffic and safety at mobile GR, and that's citywide. Today, what we're going to talk about is the neighborhood traffic calming program, which is specific to residential areas. And I'm going to keep my explanation of it super brief because every time I explain this, John corrects me on some detail that I messed up. So John is going to give you all an overview of that and also like what we're looking at shifting towards to make this a program that we think is going to be more effective for working through safety concerns through our neighborhoods in Grand Rapids. And with all that, I think John has a brief 90-minute presentation. I'm just kidding. John's got a presentation. What did you say?
It's probably going to be 10 minutes.
10 minutes, and then we want to open it up to discussion and kind of have a greater discussion. So we're spending 30 minutes here on this, and or as long as you all want to have the conversation, and then that is it. Okay, John, you ready?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. So again, my name is John Bartlett. I'm the city transportation engineer, and this is sort of just a brief description of where we are currently at with our current traffic calming program and where we want to go with it. So the current program is completely resident driven, so it requires a resident to initiate the process. They reach out to us and fill out an application. That application gives us information about what their experience is, if there's specific times where it occurs, or specific locations, and gives us an idea of what their experience is. Along with that, they're required to submit what we call an initiation petition. So they're required to communicate with other residents on their street and get them to sign the petition as well, so that we know it's a neighborhood initiative and not just one individual seeking this. From that point, we would collect speed and volume data on that street, looking at the 85th percentile speed of the roadway and the total volume on that street. So if that met our program criteria, we would go to a design. So the traffic safety team would design a traffic calming solution for that roadway. The specific types of design and the specific type of implementation, as well as the locations. And then that concept, along with a voting postcard, would be sent to the entire voting area for the roadway. They just have to check a box and mail it back in, and then we collect all that data, and if it passes the voting process, it would get installed. So some concerns with that program, it's completely reactive and resident complaint based, and so we're not taking the initiative and finding locations where traffic calming would most benefit specific areas of the city. There's currently no equity component to the program at all. There's no way to prioritize those locations over others, or any equity built into the system at all. Some feedback from residents is that it's a little bit cumbersome to navigate the program, as well as some feeling it just takes too long to get through the program as well. And then again, the only criteria that justifies whether whether the roadway is eligible is speed and volume, and there's just a lot more to consider than those two factors. So the goals of this update would be to create a proactive data-driven process that tells us where to go and bring those potential solutions to neighborhoods. We've added an equity component into the scoring system, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that allows neighborhoods of focus to get some additional points to allow them to climb that prioritization rank. It reduces the burden on the residents. They don't have to initiate the process. They don't have to, coordinate any of the communication. That's all going to be handled by our department. And then, which we'll get into a little bit more, but it's a more holistic look at the characteristics that might that traffic calming might improve. So we've broken it into three categories. So we have a scoring system for neighborhood data, crash data, and traffic data. Crash data and traffic data are pretty self-explanatory, but oh gosh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm doing two things at once. I can't see three. So the neighborhood data has categories for whether or not the location is in neighborhood of focus, what the conditions of sidewalk are. So whether there is no sidewalk on one side of the road, sidewalk on both sides of the road, disjointed sections of sidewalk. So there's a scoring system for all of those categories. Additional points for whether the location is near a bicycle facility, whether it's existing or planned for the future. additional points for its proximity to transit amenities, and additional points for its proximity to community destinations, so parks, schools, hospitals, those types of activity locations. And so all of these factors were considered that they would create an environment that's probably more likely to have non-motorized or vulnerable users in the area, and therefore have higher impact from additional vehicles, or especially vehicle speeds. The traffic data is being expanded on as well. So we're allowing, so there's a massive amount of speed and volume data to click. Gosh, dang it. I'm going to stop doing that. Thank you, Kevin.
Just do it, Kevin, take it over.
So, thanks, it's a team effort. So the traffic data, we're expanding as well. So there's a large amount of data to collect, but we're using that neighborhood data score to tell us where to go first with that data collection, using that sort of like lived environment scoring to tell us where the highest potential impact for traffic calming would be. So we would still be collecting speed and volume data, but we're adding categories. So still looking at 85th percentile speed, but adding average speed and percent of vehicles exceeding the posted speed limit as additional scoring criteria. And then adding a category for cut-through volume, so a comparison of what volume we're experiencing on that road versus what we would expect based on the land uses or number of residential units, those types of things in the area. So all of this data would be collected and compiled onto a GIS platform. Thank you. And allow us to use that to prioritize those locations. So they get scored based on, or ranked based on the scoring. And I'll show you a little bit in a little bit of what that looks like currently. But the ultimate goal is for that to be public facing, right? So if somebody is interested in traffic calming, we can direct them to the website. They can see where their street ranks in the city, what type of score it currently receives, and then they'll be able to click on it and see all of the scoring in each of the categories that got them to that point.
Sorry for the interruption, but
Yeah.
GIS stands for?
Graphic informational system. So it's this is what the GIS map looks like right now, which is very crude for internal use. It obviously would need some substantial aesthetic improvements to be public facing, but this is the type of information that it would provide, right? So it's color coded based on the ranges of scoring, and you can click on each individual roadway segment and get this like box that tells you exactly how it scores in each of the categories that we're evaluating.
So it's a geographic information system.
Yes.
Okay, but what a GIS system is, it's everything that's underneath like your Google Maps. Every map you see it's just a GIS system is underneath it doing the mapping part. But I did want to point out that it's geographic. That's the one thing I know. Since I don't know your program, but I do know that. Okay.
Thank you for the update. So the other component of this too is that there are other systems like this being developed in other departments in the city. So engineering, for example, is doing one for their construction mapping and things like that. And so the ultimate goal would be to work with them to make sure the aesthetics of these maps throughout the city, like web page, are consistent. So you get the same sort of interface experience no matter which department you're interacting with. So as we develop these total scores, that helps us prioritize the projects. We can take the top ranking projects for whatever anticipated funding we have, and then break them into a couple of different categories. So I called them traffic calming projects. These are the ones that are pure neighborhood traffic calming solutions and fit within our annual budget for those types of devices. And then we will have projects that either the neighborhood is significantly large or that there's enough devices such as curb extensions or neighborhood traffic circles that might be more expensive, that we'll have to make decisions whether those need to get broken over several years for funding or packaged into a capital project request to do all at once and put that in as a budget request. The other thing to consider too is alignment with upcoming roadway projects from engineering. Very often these types of solutions are part of their of what they would be doing with the road project anyway, so we can either reduce our costs by piggybacking on their project or sometimes erase it altogether if it's all just stuff that they can implement in their project, and then we can use that money to do the next highest ranking project. So then we want to add a component that's currently not in our program at all, which is meeting with the neighborhood, right? So have a public meeting to discuss with them. Then we get to share the data we've collected. We get to listen to them about how they perceive that data or their lived experience. We can show them a conceptual design, get their feedback and thoughts about that, which we can then use to tweak it in the future. Ultimately, we'll still have a voting process for the neighborhood. It's probably surprising to this group, but traffic calming is unfortunately really contentious. I haven't had a single project pass with higher than a 60% approval in my 9 years here. It's always razor thin for some reason. So there would still be a voting process involved, and that neighborhood meeting is just a great way to make sure everyone in that neighborhood knows what's going on. And then following that process, we would schedule a construction. We would also we do this now, but I think we need to formalize it more, but do post-construction data, right? So collect the data to determine on this roadway we lowered the speed by X amount and keep those categories, but also track them versus what devices were used so that we get an idea of what sort of impact we get with specific types of traffic calming interventions. And then the ultimate goal of this is to update and repeat, right? So all that data that we get after the project gets fed back into the GIS platform. Those projects that were constructed drop to the bottom of the prioritization list, and then we look at the next chunk and go through that data collection process until that we've got the full speed and volume scoring along with the neighborhood and crash scoring. And again, annually updating all the crash data for these locations to make sure that information is currently up to date. So that's sort of where the program, where we want it to head. And so while we've allowed this neighborhood or this resident-driven program to continue, we've also been taking steps to implement this process so that when we do make that switch over, that we've got things in the hopper to make the seamless exchange. So we've gone through 2 phases of data collection, which has encompassed 12 neighborhoods. It's really hard to see on this map, but they're color-coded on that map, the 12 locations, and these account for the 4 highest scoring neighborhoods in each ward. So each of these locations, we've developed neighborhood concepts for traffic calming devices, identifying potential locations and potential treatments, and then general cost ideas for what that would cost to implement. So the next step for these projects would be to schedule and host those neighborhood meetings. And so our current annual budget for this program probably won't be able to handle all 12 of those. So maybe half of those go forward in this time period, but to have those neighborhood meetings over like the next 3 months. And then that way the final voting can happen at the end of spring, and that gives us all summer to implement these programs if they are approved by the residents. So, and we can even break the projects down a little bit too. So if the devices are traditionally low cost, low turnaround, things like speed humps and cushions, we have an on-call contract. We can put those in. Things like traffic circles and curb extensions require some level of engineering to make sure that we're not disrupting drainage. And again, the conversation around potentially capitalizing or breaking up a project into several funding years for larger neighborhoods or neighborhoods with devices that cost more money. So that's the general overview, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, questions? Yes, Mayor.
So much stuff I want to talk about. I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff out there. First of all, the lovely, great, right? Like, one of the things I'm really proud of in Grand Rapids is like the decades worth of sort of patient, careful work in this direction we've been doing. So many streets where you can see like, oh yeah, right. Remember when Burton was like 4 lanes all the way down it, and it was crazy, and can't wait to make it not 4 lanes from Burton and Breton on, but like from Burton and Breton towards downtown, it's a lot better than it used to be, right? And so like, great that we've done all that. So this is all just add-on dream stuff, okay? The other thing I will say is like, yes, I get that I'm the mayor. So one thing that means is sometimes I have dreams and people think that they are my like proposed mandates, that I'm going to move heaven and earth for this. These are all ideas, right? Which means you can tell me they are dumb. You cannot do them. We can discuss them further, okay? So that being said, first thought, random thought, you're scoring the equity question. I think that one of the questions we really ought to have is potential for walkability and bikeability. And so I would love to see maybe scoring for the density of the existing neighborhood, because it makes a whole lot more sense to build bike lanes in dense neighborhoods than it does in not dense neighborhoods. Second of all, maybe simply owning up the fact that downtown is a unique thing and giving it a little higher weight, because my dream, there are more jobs downtown than any other neighborhood. So if it is a neighborhood, it's a neighborhood with a whole lot of jobs in it, which means my long-term goal is to get connectivity to downtown from non-car transportation. Well, that implies then having bike lanes in downtown first, because if you, so I'm gonna like stop a second here and say that what I said to City Commission the other day is, for all this kind of work, I want to see 4 C's: continuity, and we can get to that, but nobody goes for a bike ride for 2 blocks. So start and stop bike lanes are not bike lanes. They are focal points for the resistance, because they don't look good and they don't work. So continuity. Cost, which is why I like pop-up ideas. Communication, so I love the fact that you're actually going to go do communication, because like it's gonna really help. But then also consistency. So continuity and consistency aren't quite the same thing. So the Turner bike lane looks totally different than the Division bike lane, which looks totally different than the Ann bike lane, which looks totally different than and the more we can have them consistent, there are lots of advantages to consistency, but I think it's a value that's worth pointing out. Like, we can have exceptions, but we ought to have, generally, when we're doing bike lanes, they look like this, for a lot of reasons. So I just want to put those out as my sort of overarching design principles, and they all start with the same letter, so alliteration's good if you're trying to get people to remember things. Traffic, wonder if you're going to count bikes. I hope you're going to count bikes and not just cars, because one of the things that people constantly say is nobody bikes in town. Well, the number's going up. The numbers are different in different places, and so leaning into success there means being able to have data to prove, like, lots of people bike in East Town, not zero. It's a non-zero number. Another thing is, as we move and you gather data, I would love it if there was a mechanism for you to refer this out to our police department for recommendations for enforcement. Those of us who are reading the same books know design is most important. Rider behavior, we probably can't change much, but enforcement is a non-zero useful tool. And so where we want to enforce, you're going to be gathering the picture that tells police officers where to go. The other thing is the 85th percentile thing. 2 things about that. One, Brad Slaw has a bill to make that not such a terrible. It's a psychotic principle. I hate it. It is like it's like top 10 laws I hate in the universe. But if we could, Brad Slaw's at least got a bill pending to bend that and make it kinder, gentler, and closer to rational, at least rational adjacent. So I would love it if this body were to point out to the legislative body of the city that that should be a legislative priority for the city to back Brad Slaw's bill, because if it passes, there's essentially an override mechanism. So communities can not have to just genuflect to the 85th percentile the way the current law is written.
So that already exists to some degree, and they may be expanding upon it. But
Brad's making it a little better. Okay. So you look into it, and if you don't like what he's doing, but I've got the bill in my office.
Yeah, so the current law allows us, with an engineering study, to go down to the average speed.
Right. But, if it's...
Hopefully even better.
But if we can make it easier, great, right? I had another minor fantasy, which is that we have neighborhood-driven stuff now. I would love neighborhood-driven, or it's initiated by neighbors. I would love to say, I don't know that there's any law that says that there's a limit to how many speed limit signs you can have in your neighborhood. I would love to have neighbors be able to buy signs from our sign department at cost, like Heritage Hill or whoever, and I would like a bunch of them that were funny. So I would like to have them that said 25 miles an hour, we live here, or 25 miles an hour, that's a lot of metal you're driving, or 25 miles an hour, imagine if you hit a pumpkin at that speed, or whatever. I think adding some humor in might not be bad, but I'd love to see, I'd pay for a speed limit sign on my street. That'd be great. So recommendations are important, strike by count. Budget. We are getting $10 million extra for road money for the city, so I would love it if your department would make a big, hairy, audacious ask. Like when you say, I don't have enough money to do all 12 neighborhoods, tell me how much money that is. Tell us how much, because like that can come out of the new road money, I bet. Similarly, our traffic calming pace, like I know our budget for this is agonizingly small, right? Like I would love a proposal to spend all $5 million on traffic calming, to put it really crudely. The other thing that I want to talk about for this group is, I see this all the time in all kinds of cities, and I think we're kind of at the back edge of good, is the tension between cyclists and pedestrians. So I hate 90s bulb outs, because 90s bulb outs are opportunities for bikes to go get killed. I love bulb outs that are past a bike lane, but every area where we put if you bike lane and then a place pedestrians can stand after it, great. Cities are doing that more and more and more, but every time you put a bulb out, otherwise, I mean, one of your slides up there had a, like, oh, look, now the bike gets to like whip out into traffic at the intersection when the car wasn't expecting them to. So I just wanted to point out again how much I don't like that design for bulb outs. Cool, I think that's my information dump. Thank you all for listening to me.
Sure.
Oh, four-way stops. You never think about four-way stops as part of traffic calming. I shouldn't say never. A lot of it's, bumps and roundabouts, all of which are groovy. But, a red piece of aluminum is really cheap, and I would love to have those considered as traffic calming too.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, following on that, this body has talked about connecting our very disconnected bike lane route. Do you have any part of your scoring that ranks like a project higher if it is going to complete like a gap in the bike network, or if two projects would be able to like connect and extend an existing bike lane? That would be a good way to rank.
Yeah, so in terms of implementing bike facilities, and again, it depends on the type of facility you're implementing, but if there was anything higher level than a bike lane, like just a stripe on the pavement, that would be a different funding source that would have to accompany a traffic calming program. And so that's why that completion scoring is not necessarily in this, but if there's supposed to be a facility that's not there, they get bonus points because that should exist someday.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Thanks for your presentation. I wanted to ask kind of about if paint is a traffic calming mechanism. In my mind, I guess, do you think it is or?
I think it can be.
It can be? Okay.
So in the right cases, so responsible drivers can be influenced by narrowing lanes with paint. There is a considerable portion of irresponsible drivers that are not as impacted by things like that. There are other ways to use paint that I've seen in other communities. So like on approach to the speed humps or something like that, instead of just the chevrons on the speed humps, you'll see markings in the roadway leading up to it, so that it gives you another visual indication that there's something coming up. But maybe you have specific examples that you
not really. I mean, I definitely subscribe to the idea that paint will slow people down if the lanes are narrower, or perhaps the parking lane is painted a different color or something like that. Obviously, that's expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, when I'm thinking of all of the traffic calming that needs to be done, doing something in mitigation while we're waiting for that would be better than what we have now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's poor what we have now, but obviously we can improve on it.
Yeah, and so just, are you finished? I'm sorry, but didn't mean to interrupt you. But so in terms of devices such as curb extensions or neighborhood traffic circles, we do have temporary materials that if we determine that is the appropriate solution there, that we, at least on the small scale that we've done it up to this point, we've deployed those materials. So if you go to Fountain and Auburn, for instance, or Creston and Plymouth, or not Plymouth, Crescent and,
Lion.
sorry?
Crescent and Lion, too. No, not Crescent. Lion and
Why
something.
can't I think of this?
Prospect.
Prospect, thank you, Crescent Prospect. We have temporary deployments of materials that are creating basically the size of a neighborhood traffic circle at those locations. We have, Prospect also has some temporary curb extensions made out of the same material to sort of have some intervention in there while we wait for either funding or determination of whether that project's going forward. So we have some of those materials. We might not have this scale of materials, but could acquire it over time to have it. And the idea is that those sit out there until the real construction happens, and then they move to the next location that requires those temporary interventions until that construction goes on. So they'll, hopefully we'll never be storing them. They'll just be moving around the city to the next available location.
Until there's no more traffic to calm.
Yes. And then we'll have
Until everyone's calm.
And then we'll have to, have an art prize exhibit, create something beautiful out of all the materials.
Awesome. That temporary roundabout at Crescent and Prospect, I thought was effective, as temporary as it was.
Yeah, and so that has a plan for a permanent location too.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the change in effectiveness, because obviously our temporary materials are 30 inches tall, and they interact with vehicle mirrors and things like that, so people really get slowed down by them. The stuff we put in ultimately is more like 4 inches tall, and so there might be a little bit more ability to navigate them more freely, but I still think overall it would be better than the condition that it was before.
You may have already done this, but not to pile on the bike lane issue, but has there been a study, because not every street can be retrofit safely, obviously. Has there been a study, like if you're in East Town, here's the best streets to bike to get downtown, as opposed to trying a straight line, and to make it, and then publish it to all bikers? Or if you're from the south, here's the best way to get downtown?
So we haven't done that, and I'll just play devil's advocate for a second, but every summer we go through a series of complaints from vehicle drivers about construction disrupting their travel, and how impactful it is to their commute, or how annoying it is to go from one construction detour into another one, or having to experience several of them on your commute to work. Well, that's how bikers live every day in our city, because of all the disjointed information. So there could be a best route, but you don't have any idea where that person happens to be heading. And so the best route, taking them 6 blocks out of their way, they're not going to take that best route. They're going to end up on all those other streets. And so we have to find a way to make all of our system traversable. And yes, we can very much have higher level facilities that are essentially the bike highway through to make those connections, but we have to make all of those potential options available to them the same way that we do cars.
Yeah.
I'd like to add a comment for Commissioner Nguyen. So I co-chair the Transportation Subcommittee for ENTF, and that's something that we've been working on. It was to create a map from different neighborhoods, and that information can be pulled from Strava. Strava is a tool to track your bike commute or your bike travels, and is it called Strava Metro? I forget. It has like all that aggregated data. You can just see where people are starting and ending, and you can also request to like open source and crowdsource that stuff. So what you're asking for, that's something that we're working on in the ENTF Transportation Subcommittee.
Okay.
Another comment. Is it possible to do some sort of like a tactical neighborhood kit? So historically it was like citizen initiated. I appreciate the move towards a more like strategic approach. Are there ways, or like I'm thinking about tactical urbanism, or things if you have a collection of families like, hey, people are speeding through our streets, like approved methods or tools that neighborhoods could implement on their own?
I mean, so we have some of those things, and I'd be very happy to work with those neighbors with our temporary materials to try to do things. Sometimes that can be difficult, right? So like the vertical treatments are by far the most effective because they're frustrating to drive over, and people value unfortunately their cars more than anything, and so their possessions being damaged is a fear that causes them to slow down. But temporary traffic like temporary speed humps and bumps and things like that are extremely loud. They have to be bolted into the pavement, which reduces the life of your pavement and adds cost to maintain that over time and things like that. But using these temporary materials to build curb extensions to create chicanes or pinch points in the roadway or curb extensions at the intersections and things like that are all tools that we can use. And so yes, if there's a neighborhood that's going to be significantly out in terms of the ranking, I think that using those materials to help bridge that gap for them is something that we could absolutely do.
I think also, wouldn't that fall in line of like under someone else's job description, and they could file a grievance if it's like actual road work that someone else could be doing? So I think there might be some natural limitations to what you can ask for officially to do with the city.
About the public-facing GIS interactive map, are you going to have an element where people can comment or like send a note about a project? Like if you clicked on a shape line, people could say like, oh, this would be good. Like it's really hard to walk across the street because there's so many cars.
I haven't considered that yet, but that's a really good suggestion.
Okay.
So I have a question about the approval process, because my neighborhood recently went through this where it was a very contentious traffic calming project. And as you say, like it is contentious, unfortunately. People don't like being inconvenienced while driving. So I'm wondering how that will be managed, because I'm just thinking of the example from my neighborhood where it seemed like the people who lived on the street were really wanting this traffic calming, but then the people who maybe cut through or don't live as close are the ones that are so opposed to it. So I'm wondering how you will like rank, if there will be a method to like rank the approval, because I'm just thinking if like everyone in the neighborhood comes out, right? They don't even live there. Maybe they drive there and they're like, no, speed bumps are terrible. But if it is still like a strong desire of the people who like live like around that area, how you can manage that.
Yeah, I don't have a full answer to that yet, but I can promise you that I plan for it to be fairly consistent with what it is now. I don't feel that someone that lives in the back of the neighborhood should be able to say that the people in the front of the neighborhood are not affected by them driving through at excessive speeds, which is exactly what happened in Commissioner Sess's neighborhood. So there may be a component where we have several boxes, like are you in favor of the whole neighborhood concept? And if not, are you in favor of this concept along your street? And I am completely happy compartmentalizing the neighborhood into streets that voted yes, getting the traffic calming. So the whole concept of doing the whole neighborhood at once is to not push the cars somewhere else. So we're giving everybody an opportunity to say, okay, well, if this street gets calmed, then they'll come to my street, and so I don't want that, and so I'll participate in this. So unfortunately, if they make that decision that they don't want it, they'll still fall to the bottom of the list because they had the opportunity to do it. But yeah, I don't have any intention of overriding the ability to vote for your street by itself by having the neighborhood squash your opinion.
Did yours pass?
Yeah, I mean, the opposition came out after it happened. And yeah, a typical refrain that people didn't know what was happening.
Gotcha. Any other comments?
Just one, speed tables or raised intersections are something that, again, is happening all over the place, other cities. I'm not aware of a single one in Grand Rapids. It can't be infinitely expensive because you're not like re-engineering the street. You're just getting A1 asphalt to come in and drop 4 inches of asphalt on top of your intersection, right? But I mean, I know I'm old. But I mean, we're not, we don't have to be like, my God, where do the cable lines go now? What I wondered about is, if we could cost out what that would be per intersection, because if it is a reasonable number, again, I'm looking for things to build into our new $10 million a year budget, and that's like, I think this is an opportunity for us to move from the vital streets, let's wait till the sewer breaks and then we'll do the road, to a better continuity model. But that's really going to be mobile GR more than vital streets in terms of the traditional, like, I'm still not sure why we have two different groups, and that's another conversation. But I'd rather have like holistic road design be one group that talks about it. But
So I don't know that I've driven, what is a raised intersection?
I love the idea. I got it from a wheelchair user who pointed out that, like, intersections are where bad things happen, and the number one place that pedestrians slip and fall is in those lovely, well-intentioned, and generally great ADU curb cuts,
Yeah.
because water puddles there and it freezes in the winter, and so it's a great place to slip and fall. So if instead of asking pedestrians to go down into danger, you raise the cars up to the sidewalk level at the intersections, you raise the whole intersection up to sidewalk level,
Gotcha.
which gives cars this great subliminal signal of like, hey, there might be someone here other than a car, and it also drops your slip and fall, and it increases accessibility for people with disabilities. But then also the fire department doesn't come out with torches and pitchforks because it's like it's a big thing, right? They really don't like small speed humps, but like speed tables, they're less resistant to.
Okay. Any other comments?
One quick thing. So a common conception or misconception that I've heard is, the voice of emergency vehicles in the decision of traffic calming. So, a couple of spots that I've been in, it was, we can't get speed bumps here, and the neighborhood is saying, well, emergency came in and said, we need to be able to get through this neighborhood quickly, and there can't be speed bumps. Is there any reality to that?
So there can be.
Okay.
So there are specific data points where their response times are reduced a certain number of seconds by every device that they have to cross. And so if they're anticipating to respond in 2 minutes or less in all cases, and they cost 40 seconds driving over 4 speed humps, that can affect them. But if you look at this image, the upper right, this is what they've coined as speed cushions. So those devices are the same height and slope as a speed hump, but those cutouts are specifically the width of a fire engine so that they can go through that without slowing down.
Nice.
So we've put these in a number of locations. Contractors hate to install them in asphalt, so we've been testing them in concrete, so that because they don't like them doing in asphalt because it's really hard to get the compression rate and get the right height into our thresholds. But they can cast them in concrete exact every time, and so we've got 2 installations like that we've been tracking, and there's been no issues with the seam between the asphalt and the concrete and things like that. And the price point came basically contractors were pricing them in a big, I don't want to do this fashion. So the concrete has given us an opportunity to get back to those devices at a good price point.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, technically, our 30 minutes are up, so congratulations. So,
Thank you, everyone.
next on the agenda are updates, director's updates,
Go back.
December updates.
Well, let's go back to
Oh.
Commissioner departures.
Oh, I'm on the wrong, I'm on 8 instead of 7.
Oh, yeah.
Make note of that, Chad, for the next meeting, not to mess up. Okay, yes, we are on Commissioner departures.
Yeah, so I just wanted to take a minute to thank all of you who are at the end of your term or at the end of the termed out. A couple of folks who are termed out here is our friend Mr. Nguyen, and also Mr. Mathis. We'll also be saying goodbye to
Commissioner
Clark.
Clark.
Where are you at? There you. Oh, you're all sitting next to each other. Excellent, excellent. And Josh Lunger is also termed out, and he's not here today. So we have some thank you little tokens we'd like to give to you, and Mary's going to hand those out, and maybe Max will come and help as well. And we'd like to give those all to you. And so what I wanted to just note something that's in your little pack. Will you give these first, please? So first of all, it's a very high-end Mobile GR branded cup. So I know that's going to be exciting for you guys. But in your cup, what we've placed is, we've got some little reflective things
Parking
for you
passes.
to walk, obviously. But one of the things we popped in there is a flashlight. And what that is, we just wanted to thank you all for lighting the way with your leadership here as we talk about mobility and transportation in Grand Rapids. It's a tough conversation sometimes, but it's always a fun conversation, and we will miss you all, and we appreciate your time. time. We are the transportation department, right? So we do print the signs. And so we thought we'd give you a little sign. Don't put this on your street, okay? My traffic engineer's eyes are twitching when they think about non-MUTCD compliant signs, but these there are just something, put that someplace where you need to make sure folks know who you are.
Love it.
So anyway, thank you so much for your time. Chair, I'll send it back to you if there's any other discussion you want to have here.
Well, I'll turn to the outgoing commissioners and see if you have any parting words. We can start with Commissioner Clark.
I had forgotten about this, so I have nothing prepared, but it's just been a privilege to serve. I joined this when my office was in the Hartside District. I'm no longer there, so I felt, it was time for others that are invested in the city to have a role and a seat at the table, but it was an honor to serve. I still have a heart for the neighborhood and the marginalized, and I still put them at the beginning of all my meetings for these efforts, and I hope that continues with those of you that are passionate about that demographic in our audience as well. So we can't overlook those that maybe need this the most, and sometimes we don't bring them into the dialogue. So that was my efforts there, and I felt that commitment from a lot of you too. I obviously don't know most of you, but I appreciate all of your passion and your intentionality, your commitment. It's just been a privilege to be alongside of you. Of course, Jessica, and started my term with Josh, so I've kind of been around as Rick and Chris have as well, but it's been a privilege to serve, and thank you again for all these fun gifts.
Great. Commissioner Mathis?
I would echo the same thing. It's been fun. It's been fun to ride this wave, and I think the thing that brought me in is I got in right before the pandemic, and and I got to hear all the stories of businesses struggling downtown and all the challenges they had, all trying to navigate how to overcome these obstacles they were faced with, and I felt an obligation. I felt an obligation to be a voice, to speak on their behalf, to speak on the community, those who use public transportation downtown, from the single mother to the business owner and everyone in between. And so I thank you for giving me a space to share my voice, my experience, and to speak on behalf of our community.
Great. Well, what can I say? I've been honored, actually, to be the chair for this many years. I think I echo everything that's been said. I do think moving forward, one of the best things that's happened to this commission, in my opinion, is the mayor being on this commission. And not to put you on the spot, but I truly believe that. You do garner much needed conversation for this commission, and I think the commission's better off for it. Moving forward, I guess my only advice would be to always trust your staff. They work hard. They have to implement much of what the city commission puts forward and our recommendations, so trust in them. Moving forward, I will always follow the residential permit program. And those of you who are at that commission will know what I'm talking about, but it's been a privilege and I appreciate it, so thank you. And next we have updates. The parking incentive program working group recommendations.
Yes, so our lead who facilitated that working group is Ariel Lifeham Ellis, and she had a kiddo emergency this morning, so she couldn't join us today. She sent her report for you all, and I think this is great because you all can take a look at this, and I'd like to delay having this further discussion until next month, if that's all right with the body.
Sounds great.
Yes.
All right, so the other updates is you'll see our up-to-dates on just kind of goings on at the department. So our monthly updates are in there. And one of the things that will shift soon is the commission in November was able to have their workshop where they discussed the strategic goals for the city. And so those have been updated a little bit. And so we'll be updating these to make sure that we're reporting out to you all on those. So just a little bit of a shift, probably next time around you see those. In the director's updates that I've popped in there, and I know that we are just about at the end of our time together today, but what I wanted to point out is a couple of things. City Commission had an excellent workshop. They had a lot of conversation on many topics, but one of the big focus areas remains mobility, and there was quite a bit of conversation around that. Really appreciate all of you's engagement at the Mobile GR workshop, commission workshop that we had together that happened the day before the City Commission, so it was just kind of 2 days of lots of mobility conversations. We continue to talk about and discuss the mobility blueprint, and we're still working on internal alignment to finalize that. There was a bit of that spoken with both here, of course, but also the next day at the City Commission. So we're working through the final details before you'll see that project really get started in earnest. But I appreciate you all and your input on as we're developing that. A couple of people updates in the Mobile GR department. So I've listed in here a couple of things that are going on. So we have just we've been working through a little bit of a restructure in the department, and then the other just to be more efficient and effective in the people leadership and the portfolio of work that each of those people leaders take care of in the department. So it's a little different than it was before. But the other thing that's shifting is originally when I came on board, the way the department was structured is you had a department director, and then you had 2 assistant directors, and then you had these other folks that had different titles. So we have adjusted all of those, what I call core team members, the folks that report directly to me. So instead of having 2 assistant directors, the operational gap that we had at Mobile GR was actually an operational leader for parking operations specific, which is a little bit different than what the assistant director for parking was doing before. So this new position is called the Parking and Mobility Operations Manager. It is a modernized title to have that mobility piece really pulled in there. It's focused on operations, and it was just, it went through all of the civil service union and city commission approval processes and was recently approved. So we will be recruiting for that position here shortly. And I can talk more about what that position is in the future if you have more questions. The other position that was really modernized is we have a group of 4 folks that run day-to-day shift operations for your parking operations, but they do more than that. If someone calls about a Lime scooter, if someone calls about a Dart car, if they call about anything going on that looks like it touches transportation, it comes to our dispatch. We have a 24/7 dispatch at Mobile GR. And the folks that oversee whoever is on shift over a 24-hour period are called our shift supervisors. And there's 4 folks that do that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And so that position was originally called the parking shift supervisor. Again, I want to modernize that position and really reflect all that position does. And so I've updated that job to be a parking and mobility shift supervisor, and updated the job description to include all of the duties that those folks are really doing. And when that was reviewed by the Civil Service Board, it actually gave that position a 2-range salary pay increase. So it's really good news for those folks. They work really hard, and they are really the heartbeat of that operation. Anytime you need something and somebody comes out to help you, you're seeing a member of their staff or one of those shift supervisors. So we are just a really big, important part of our team. And then finally, the Intelligent Transportation Systems Technician. This is also another modernized position, which also resulted in a salary range, a change up. Those are always fun. We needed to modernize that position. It had not been looked at in 20 years, and it still had things in there, things before the iPhone. It's time to update. So this is really the person that takes care of the software and programming side of your signal system. So these positions have been empty for almost a year. And my goal was to get them modernized and put back out there so that we could recruit and retain. What we were having trouble with was retention. It's great people out there that do this work. It was hard to retain them at that salary level. We did a reclass and a study of the position, and yep, we're not paying enough. So those are some good news. I wanted to let you know that. And then the one last one is Max Gillis has a new employee, and she happens to be here today, and I just wanted to introduce. Go ahead. You tell. I don't know. It's your person. Yeah, lean over.
So I also wanted to provide a quick update at the Mobile GR workshop. Thank you, John. There was a lot of conversation around communications, and we took that very seriously, and we are already starting a lot of really intentional work around some significant updates that we can provide to this body probably in January. We'll see how the schedule works, but we'll be ready to give it in January in terms of our 2026 schedule, what we're prioritizing, what we're going to work on. And a great addition to the team that's going to work on that is Valerie Vargas, who joins us. Her background was working on, or most recently was working at the University of Michigan with their sustainability work around public engagement and communications and behavior change. So it aligns a lot with the work we're doing. So we're super excited to have her here. She's also we're kind of splitting this position with the Office of Communication. So you may see her doing communications work in other roles as well. But yeah, so we're super excited to have you. Thank you, Valerie, and welcome.
Thanks, Val. Thanks, Valerie. We're excited to have you. So say hi to Valerie on your way out if you have time. And that's all from me. And you have 5 more minutes.
All right. Next would be public comment. If there's anyone in the public that would like to step forward, now is your opportunity. Yes.
Come on over. All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Rampersad. I am a founder and I'm developing a product that is making pedestrian crosswalks safer. It is a lighting product and it focuses on the pedestrian crosswalk. I'm hearing all the improvements that you guys did. This was a great meeting to get caught up to speed on what you're doing, but I was wondering if you're investing on lighting the crosswalks as a safety measure. There was a recent study that was done by Western Michigan that showed there was a 275% increase in yielding where there's illumination in the crosswalks, that there's a 200% decrease of speed of greater than 10 miles an hour if the car can see the pedestrian. And if you add the rapid flashing beacons with lighting, is a 12,000% decrease in incidents. So I was wondering if lighting is on your radar. In doing my research in preparation for this opportunity, I did notice that the city is bonding $8.5 million for LED lighting upgrades, and I wondered if crosswalks were part of that mix.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in, excuse me, in the audience? All right, seeing none. Commissioner comments?
Yes, I have a few.
Go ahead.
I'll go through these fairly quickly. We have blocked sidewalks because of snow and ice. In reporting the sidewalks, I don't see that Pearl Street Bridge and Fulton Street Bridge are available to report on the sidewalks or sidewalk part of the website. If we can get an answer on that and how to do that. Second would be, I think I'd like to request a review and reform of the snow and ice report SOP. Right now, I think it's very generous in how it operates, and so I'd just like to know the full look into that. Third would be, we had a resident stuck in the roadway in Burton Heights using their electric wheelchair. The curb cut was not cleared. It's a really big issue. Had to go out there because that's why I'm requesting the SOP for the snow and ice report, because I know how long it takes. It's very generous. It gets reset if there's another snow event. So you could be waiting 3 weeks for someone to come out and clear that. So I just went and cleared it myself. But then I also heard of a local professional in transportation that slipped and fell and had a concussion, been out of work a few days because because of snow and ice. This is a dangerous issue that we need to be addressing as soon as possible. And so regarding that, I'd also like to request a current SOP for the sidewalk snow support program. I know that's no longer with Mobile GR. I know that's with Public Works, but I'd like to see if we can get that requested as well. Personal, fifth thing that I'd like to mention, there's been a few times now that I've used a DART, and we've got another vehicle parked in there that's not a DART vehicle, so it's having issues getting charged. Barely made it back from the trip that I had yesterday, with just enough. It was on red, so I could have gotten stuck. Ended up getting stuck because the buses weren't running anymore at 10:30, so I had to walk 3 miles home, and that really sucks in the snow and ice at 10:30 at night. I would take a scooter, but the roads are also terrible for scooters as well, because that was a thought that I had. And sixth, I hope that we are, I'm hearing a lot of the things that we can do, and that's really great, because I know that what we are doing and what we can be doing, we had a presentation on that, but I'd like to keep in mind the things that we should be doing as well. Although we aren't able to currently do them, I think it's still a good practice to understand things that we should be doing, below that what we can be doing given our parameters, and then what we are doing. It gives us a nice guiding North Star to be doing what we should be doing. And then finally, I'd like to put an ask out to all our commissioners to practice multimodalism as much as possible. Get out there, walk on those sidewalks, use the EV car share program, the e-bikes and the scooters as much as possible. Take the bus so that we're better informed in what we're asking to make changes here in this body. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would actually just love to take this opportunity to second pretty much everything Commissioner Miguel Cipriano said. I also would recommend that we take a good hard look at how we do snow and ice removal, particularly for sidewalks, but also bike lanes. It's very frustrating to see roads that are 100% pristine clear and sidewalks that you have to fight through, you know, mounds of snow from the plows or people who don't clear their sidewalk. And as the commissioner said, you know, the policy is very generous. I've reported many times and pretty much nothing has ever happened because of it. And even the work that we have now, which is the city does come and plow certain stretches of sidewalk. It's often not plowed it's not cleared, it is more packed. And so, you know, that's fine for an able-bodied person with good shoes and good traction who can navigate that, but it's pretty much impossible if you are, you know, using any sort of assisted device or, you know, even just carrying heavy groceries or something like that. So, yeah, I would very much support really looking at what we prioritize, because it's very clear in the winter what is the highest priority and what is not a priority.
All right, thank you. Yes?
Yeah. Question for you, Jessica. Well, and the Mobile GR staff, basically. But I was wondering if you might be able to highlight in your, not your report, but like the Mobile GR report, like the changes month over month, if there are any. I find it's obviously a lot of information to look at. It's much better than it was. But if you could maybe, like, if something goes from design to out for bid, just bold it or something like that. That'll help, I guess, us get a better perspective of the pace that everything's going at. And then last thing, I just wanted to kind of ask about the dash work line. I think since I've started a couple years ago on this body, it's been a consistent negative decline percentage-wise, so that's probably only a couple riders. We're only starting with 3,034 as of October. So I was just curious kind of if that's in the conversation to perhaps find something that could be of more impact, getting more folks to ride either the dash work line or reworking that line, or kind of what the future of that is. Because to me, you know, seeing a negative % change every month for 2 years is kind of a bad sign. But thank you.
All right. Yes, Mayor.
Three quick things. First of all, I'd love at some point, Jessica, I know you're working on the, well, let's call it Uber for parking spots, like competing with the Air Park people. Like, I'd love to get if you can publicly share like timelines and when we could get that going, because I think that's like the undiscovered country for revenue for the city, making people in those neighborhoods happy. Great. I don't like, we say it all the time, public-private partnership, but that really is what it is. So I think there's a huge, huge opportunity there. So I'm excited about that, and I'd love to hear an update sometime. Second of all, for all of you on the commission, I'm going from here to Calvin College, where they're working on some instantiated green revolving fund, and one of the things that I really pushed them on was whether we could do some exploration of ways to have that fund involve e-bike support. And I actually think that maybe it's better to just give people coupons or something, but I think they had some really, really sort of exciting data, which just not going to surprise any of you, right? But like, you get people on an e-bike and all kinds of things change. Like your road wear goes down, lots of, not using fossil fuels, but also just fewer miles globally traveled. Like, people get smarter about their transportation if it takes them a little effort. So I think that pushing e-bike adoption is an opportunity, and it's sustainability, but it's also us. And so that's really the sustainability people have been involved in that conversation, but not us. So track the city conversation about that, and if you ever want to come to a city commission meeting and say, yay, I'd love to see a e-bike support, actual money going into that. Basically you're displacing about a third of a car for every e-bike you get out there. So that's really worth thinking about. Finally, not finally, second to finally, Ken, I'm with you on all the pedestrian stuff. Like, I transitioned from being a cyclist to being a walker, because it's what you got to do this season. At least it's what I got to do. And raised intersections would be one thing that would help, but also if we actually had citywide sidewalk snow removal, like the city did. In fact, it used to be that even repairing the sidewalk was all on the individual residents, but now it's not. We could move into a world where shoveling the snow is not on the individual resident, because it's really not a great way to do it. Like, we can ask for compliance and you can narc out your neighbor that doesn't do it, but it's just a lot more efficient to start at one end of the block and remove the snow on the whole block. And as all of you know, I have a daughter who can't, if 90% of the snow is shoveled, she's immobilized. Like, she can't go for a walk. So getting a world where we have 100% of our clearance instead of 90 or even 95% is useless if you're in a wheelchair, or if you're trying to walk with a cane or with a guide dog, because, you can't find the sidewalk. Finally, one of my dreams would be more pictures of pending projects. So like we get a lot of pictures of conceptual projects, but I did see, and I don't know if any of you saw this week, there were some actual instantiated pictures on the proposed bike lane transitions on Wealthy Street, which immediately made me feel I had lots of ideas and lots of feedback on that. And I was like, having a picture helps. If it's like reconstruction on Wealthy Street and you get a word picture, it's hard for me to know how to give instantiated feedback. And I'm not going to start on the hallucinogenic bike lane on Division Street. But like, again, that was one where I think we all could have designed that better. But if we had, earlier pictures maybe gives us time for input, and particularly those of us who are actual bike users. I'm like, no, that's not going to work. Or, anyway, so thanks.
Good comments. Anyone else?
I'll say one thing. One thing we could look into, this is more of a David thing, a millage for heated sidewalks like Holland. That would solve kind of all of these problems, but that's a whole other story.
I'd be happy to rejoin after my request is fulfilled, if it can be fulfilled, to get this current SOP for the Sidewalk Snow Support Program, because I was the one that designed that and implemented it. It was one of my first projects when I joined Mobile GR, so I'd be happy to revisit that. And in that report, I mentioned how there's numbers there to be worked on to speak to Commissioner Wilson's request.
All right. Anyone else?
appreciate you guys so much.
Yes,
So, I mean, I
likewise.
know we're throwing a lot of stuff out, mostly me, but like really, really, really happy. And you're doing a great job and doing a great job running the meeting.
Ken was a close second. With ideas. So, all right, thank you very much. I'll miss this, but happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you feel that should be stated, and good luck.